All right, have and have not fans. This video is going to be more of a character analysis, if you will, and it goes into the characters of both Wyatt and Candace. This isn't really a hey, these two should get together video. It's more like looking at those two as characters, and if you notice, those two have butted heads a lot in the series, but they have a lot in common when you think about it. Going back to, I believe, episode 2, we see interactions between the two where Wyatt tries to get Candace to get him drugs from a dealer that he knows. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. He actually was sneaking around the living room and found, some alcohol. And then he saw Candace and Jim come out of his office late at night. And that's when he started suspecting an affair going on between those two. So those two didn't get off to a good start. I believe in episode 1, those two were kind of butting heads as well, where Wyatt had Candace's phone because it was ringing. He kind of played with her for a minute, where he was handing her the phone, but then jerked it back, but then gave it back to her. So I mean, that was kind of like a little tidbit to things to come. But Candace wasn't having it in episode 2. I believe she even smacked him across the face a few times because he was getting a bit rough with her, and she's like, go on, I like that kind of stuff. But after that, those two really had bad blood because he always suspected Jim and Candace were having an affair. Then later on, when Wyatt and Jeffrey were helping her and Amanda move into an apartment, that she made up that story about how her mother was killed or something like that, and Wyatt apologized, then found Candace's ad for prostitution on the internet, confronted her about that, found out Amanda was in the hospital because she tried to kill herself, because Candace was literally trying to hide the whole situation. So again, those two have never been on good terms. I mean, heck, when she was at Amanda's funeral, Wyatt tried to drag her away. So yeah, there was that aspect of it. And heck, those two got into it at the Crier house when Wyatt was yelling in Candace's ear to move out of the way. So those two have never been on good terms. But looking at the video themselves, looking at this video, the theme of this is really those two having a hard time battling their inner demons or their negative lifestyles. For Wyatt, it's his addiction to substances and alcohol. For Candace, it's her, I guess you could say, just giving herself away, her body, for, monetary value. And the sad part about it is, Wyatt being Wyatt, he comes from a prestigious family, the Criers, everything handed to him. And he's willing to throw that away for trying to live the life of a have-not, being, escaping his life with, drinking and drugs. But of course, we know that links back to his unfortunate experience at the church camp, I believe, by that priest. And sadly enough, Candace went through a similar aspect during her childhood by one of Hannah's many, I wouldn't even call them boyfriends, men that she engaged with sexually, and ended up molesting Candace. And both of them harbor huge grudges towards their parents, where Wyatt harbors a huge grudge towards Jim because Wyatt, said that he called Jim when he was a kid to get him out of there, but he said he was working, but it turned out that he was messing around with Celine that day instead of picking Wyatt up, and I believe Amanda was there too. If that would have happened, maybe he wouldn't have been, taken advantage of as a child. I feel that Wyatt calling Jim as a kid to pick him up may have been, that priest trying to, and it really makes me uncomfortable even talking about this. Maybe that priest was, kind of feeling up on him, and Wyatt felt like, it wasn't a situation he should be in. So that's why he called his dad, but he didn't show up to get him. And then Candace, she blames Hannah because Hannah was remember back in her day when Benny and Candace were kids, Hannah was like Candace, living the same lifestyle, using her body to get men and money and whatnot. So she harbors a huge grudge towards Hannah, and that's why Hannah, looks at Candace, why are you like this? But remember, because of the way Hannah was back then, and again, Candace, according to Candace, it was pretty much hell being raised in the house with Hannah, because she was really crazy and whatnot. So there's no telling what Candace had to go through. And again, this really goes back to a whole, this is why Tyler Perry needs to do a movie detailing the lives of these characters before the Has and the Have Not started. Just because there's so much we can see. And when you look at it that way, Wyatt and Candace grew up almost in similar situations. I mean, mind you, Candace didn't live in a mansion. She didn't go on vacations every year and whatnot, while Wyatt lived on the other side of the tracks where all that stuff was, given to him. But they both experienced the same unfortunate situation for free, being the fact that due to the actions of their parents, they were taken advantage of as children. And Candace escaped that pain and suffering by, giving her, basically, I feel like she might have felt undervalued due to that circumstance. That's why she's so willingly giving her body to get the stuff that she wants. And then in order to forget about everything in his life, especially the pain of what happened as a kid, Wyatt turned to drinking. And the worst part is, I believe Catherine's dad was mentioned to be like a raging alcoholic, and that's, almost in Wyatt's blood. So sadly, it's almost like a curse that he can't escape. And if you look at it from Candace's perspective, it's almost a curse that she can't escape, because remember, Benny and Candace have two different fathers, so, have different fathers. So there's no telling if Candace's dad was the result of one of Hannah's one night stands or something like that. And when you look at it from that perspective, could it be that, Hannah's misdoings are in Candace's blood as well? It's almost like, again, are Candace and Wyatt kind of cursed to their own existence? The fact that they're living the lives that family members did, Candace living up the lifestyle Hannah did before she came to Jesus. And then Wyatt living the life that his grandfather did, coming from a family with a lot of money and whatnot, but then being a raging alcoholic. So there's no telling. It's sad. I really hope that they overcome their demons, especially Wyatt, because he's finally taken Jeffrey's advice. He called the helpline for the drugs. Hopefully he's going to kick the addiction. Then you have Candace. Man, there have been so many times where she could have had redemption. When she almost died at the hands of the Ballones and lost everything, you thought she would have learned, the error of her ways and changed. But instead, she called up Warlock and then started round 2 with Jim. Now she's in the situation where, Oscar screwed her over, or pretty much doing his job to get the money back that she had stored from Jim. Now she's messed around for presidential candidate, and basically the stakes are getting higher, because remember, Wyatt pretty much overdosed and almost died, put herself into a coma. Candace almost died when her past came back to haunt her, when Quincy almost killed her, if not for Jeffrey. Wow, you think about it, Jeffrey was Wyatt's lifeline as well as Candace's, him swooping in there to save Candace from Quincy, and him, giving Wyatt the help that he needs. So, man, I just hope that these two really do come around, because they've lost so much. Wyatt has lost his sister. Candace, unfortunately, has lost her child. And those two pretty much, they escape their pain. And again, I'm not I wasn't a psychology major in college, so when I say this, don't think that I'm like a, PhD psychology student or anything. These two escape their pain by, their own substances. Candace's substance of choice being, sex and just lying and being deceitful to get what she wants, while Wyatt's, of course, substance of choice is alcohol and drugs. So I really hope that they win their battles. I mean, it seems that, Wyatt is actually trying to use the help that he's been given to overcome his own demons, while Candace is still up to her old tricks. So hopefully, and again, this is bad, but I think he even said it in the Quincy, why Quincy was probably going to be the one to get shot. His death would have had the biggest impact on the characters in the show. So I feel like maybe in his death that things will turn around for Candace, because unfortunately, the last time they saw each other, it was a sweet scene. So when I say unfortunately, I just mean unfortunate that that was the last time those two were together. Little Q said that he was praying for his mother. So hopefully those prayers didn't go unanswered, and again, hopefully his death isn't in vain. Maybe things will turn around for Candace, because remember, after Amanda's funeral and after she, died, Wyatt just got into that drunken state where he just kept drinking everything in the damn house. So I don't know. Hopefully things will just turn around. Hopefully things will turn around. So with that being said, What did you think of this video? Do you think that Candace and Wyatt have more in common than they would like to believe? I mean, it would be pretty interesting, and it's probably not going to happen, but it would be pretty interesting for those two just to sit down and talk about their lives and then discover how much they have in common and how they both have major battles they need to win against their demons, being sex for Candace and drugs and alcohol for Wyatt. So leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, what other two characters do you feel are similar enough for me to kind of do an evaluation on? And again, I'll see you in the next video.